Originally, I wanted to make this a video with a camera where I sit on my couch and we just chill and drink tea, but I quickly realized that I don't have the appropriate... what's the word? Equipment. I don't have the appropriate equipment for that. So we're doing this the old way, the old school way of just me showing you a PowerPoint presentation, or Google Docs presentation, whatever you want to call it. I actually prepared this for our PowerPoint night on New Year's Eve, and I told all my friends, which is like a room of 9 people and the 9 people don't know Supernatural or 911. So if you know both of these ship names or have watched both 911 and Supernatural, I don't think this video is going to be very interesting to you. This is essentially just me recording my presentation so I can send this video to people when they ask me again why I'm so obsessed about 2 middle-aged men. But yeah, it has been about like 6 months and I'm already tired of explaining. So I will record this once. No, actually, I was very excited to hold this presentation, so I'm actually holding it again because it was so much fun. Nonetheless, if you know all these words on screen right now, this video is probably going to be boring for you. I will not go in depth. I will not go over whether or not Dean reciprocated. I'm not here to debate that. I'm not here to debate whether or not Supernatural did queerbait. That has been done time and time again. For this video, we will operate under the assumptions that 1, Dean probably reciprocated, and B, they did queerbait. If you don't agree with either of those sentences, this is probably not the video for you, and that's okay. Thank you for stopping by, and you don't even have to hit the like button on the way out. You can dislike this video if you don't agree. It's okay, but you don't have to keep watching. What this video is about is trying to explain the impact on the queer community that Destiel had to people either not part of the queer community or not part of that specific subgroup that knows about Supernatural and was on Tumblr in 2015. Also, I don't mean to step on anyone's toes here. Of course, I'm trying to keep this funny, I'm trying to make jokes, but yeah, I don't want to hurt anyone. I'm just trying to explain this in a funny way so you can send this to your friends or relatives or family that ask you why you are so obsessed with these middle-aged men. And hopefully I can explain that for you. Alright, so what is Buddie and why am I scared it will be the new Destiel? By me. You can call me Llama. And that doesn't work. Okay, wait. I tried to forward it didn't work. Okay, yeah, true. Spoiler. If you haven't finished either Supernatural or 911, this is probably not the video for you. I will not care about spoiler. Just be warned. If you have not watched either of them and care about being spoiled, please watch Supernatural before continuing this video. It's I've been trying to watch Supernatural for the past 6 months. But yeah, you've been warned. So, who is Destiel? Destiel is, as probably even people who don't watch Supernatural know, the ship name between the human Dean Winchester and the angel Castiel. And if you're wondering why Dean's brother Sam is on this slide, he is not part of the ship, don't worry. But he is in a lot of the context I'm going to talk about, and it would just be weird just showing you Dean and then having Jared Padalecki standing next to him for about 60% of the slides. Poor guy has to constantly witness this unresolved tension. So, I actually made this to keep in mind what points I want to go over, so we're not going to go over every single point on the slide, don't worry. All the things that are not in, bold are the things I'm going to talk about. I just wanted to scare my friends at the PowerPoint night with a slide, don't worry. Yeah, we're jumping right in. I'm gonna go over why the ship was perceived as queerbait. The first time we meet Cas is in the beginning of the 4th season. He is the one who gets Dean, who sells his soul to save his brother, out of hell. after he has been there. Oh my god, I don't want to lie, but I think he's been torturing things for 40 years or so. Like he spent about 40 years or so in hell. If editing llama is not coming in right now to tell you that I spoke bullshit, it's probably correct. I will fact check it after the video. It's not that important anyway. So yeah, Dean doesn't know who Destiel is. They go to a medium. The medium says, oh, it was Destiel, and then her eyes burn out. So he and Bobby, who's the guy in the background, they summon Destiel, and Destiel shows up, and Dean plunges the demon-killing knife in him. And Cass gives this little grin, which I love, because he's just like, oh my god, you are so stupid. And I'm not sure what Dean's facial expression is here, but he is astonished, to say the least. But yeah, he says, who are you? And Cass' first line is, I am the one who gripped you tight and raised you from perdition. Which there is about a million other ways to say this less gay. He could have said, I am the one who's rescued you from hell. I am the one who rescued you from perdition. Why is it I am the one who gripped you tight and raised you from like. Anyway, I think they accidentally made that gay. I don't think they wanted to make this gay. Maybe they did, but I think it was an accident. Oh yeah, there's not a picture here. I hope I will edit a picture and post over this. Because this is the next thing that also Cass says. And I think this is already going in queerbaity direction, like with them thinking maybe this will get people to ship this and then like people to engage. You know how queerbaiting works. I'm not going to go over this. But yeah, Cass shows up at some point when Dean is like asking for him to show up, and then Sam's like, I've been praying to you like for hours, and then Dean says something and suddenly it's hello, and then Cass goes like, we have a more profound bond, and he kind of looks like at Dean like he's saying, I wasn't gonna mention it. Yeah, no, it's mentioned over the course of the show a lot that Cass calls his and Dean's bond profound. I think in his mechanically angel mind of season 4 and 5 Cass that he stitched Dean's soul together and therefore they're kind of like linked. But yeah, I don't have to tell you how gay that sounds. There is like the end verse AU. It isn't actually like it's not something that people made up. I know it sounds like that, but in one of the episodes, one of the other angels sends Dean to an alternate universe or alternate timeline. I think it actually is, and that is to show to him what happens if he doesn't let the angel of Michael possess his brain. In that Doomsday AU, like in the end verse, we see that Dean is pretty asshole leader, still kind of sleeping around with women left and right, but also that Cass is still with him and that Cass has given up his angelic grace to stay on Earth and stay there with Dean. He's also a stoner and like constantly takes drugs. They go on like a suicide mission kind of thing to stop Lucifer, and both Deans come along. And there's this beautiful little scene where Cass is like, so you suggest we just go there and die? And then Dean's like, are you coming? And he just goes, of course. Like, it's like he doesn't even have to think about it. There's also like people saying, oh, he wore Dean's clothes in that AU, but like, I don't think they had much option there, but like, I see it. I see the clothes sharing. Anyway, there's also this other screenshot, and I don't really think who made it. This is like all of the library of just like the 2015, I mean like actual 2000 supernatural screenshots on my phone that I got from various websites. But yeah, whoever said this got a point, because I can't tell either if Dean watches his future self and future Cass saying, am I that obvious? Or why am I not treating Cass better? He could be thinking both, to be honest. So yeah, that was just an added thing of saying, okay, they actually have a profound bond. It was not kidding. Cass stayed on Earth on purpose. Okay. First of all, we have whatever that was. There's just like, Cass is upset with Dean, I think. I'm not sure why. He's just like, he's like angry a lot in those first 2 seasons. Or exasperated, annoyed. And Dean goes, Cass, not for nothing, but the last person who looked at me like that, I got laid. And Cass just keeps staring. And yeah, no, I understand where people, like, we're not out of season 5 yet, and I would have been gnawing at the walls at this point. And then we have, like, before the battle, like, the next day, Dean is like, hey, it's our last day on Earth, do you have anything you want to do? And Cass is like, no, I don't know. And Dean goes, yeah, did you ever have sex? And Cass doesn't answer, so Dean goes, there are 2 things I know for certain. 1, Bert and Ernie are gay. 2, you're not gonna die a virgin, not on my watch. And then he leaves the room. And what he wants to say is, I'm gonna take you to a strip club so you're gonna have sex with a woman I paid for. What he does say is talking about Ernie and Bert being gay and not letting Cass die a virgin. At this point, I think we're making fun of the option that Cass and Dean actually could be a romantic pairing. I think that was a deliberate choice. But like in canon, this is a choice for Dean to make. Like, this is a choice of words. Yeah, then the whole fact that when Cass dies in season 6, I think, or season 7. No, season 6. End of season 6 probably, because then the whole Leviathan thing happens. Anyway, Cass dies for reasons. If you haven't watched the show, I don't need to explain it to you because it's not important. And if you've watched the show, you know that Cass died because of the Leviathans. Jesus, okay. Anyway, he dies and then comes back and he has no memories, so he wanders through the woods where he meets this woman and marries her. And then Dean hears of a miracle worker and he's like, hey, this could be Cass. For whatever reasons, I actually forgot the reason why he thinks that it could be Cass, but he goes there. He saves the woman from demons. And then Cass is like, thank you for saving my wife. But he doesn't know that he is Cass because he thinks he's Emmanuel. And that's the face Dean pulls when Cass says, thank you for saving my wife. Yeah, that is not a what the fuck face, Dean. That is a I have been hurt and my heart is breaking and I would just want my best friend back face. He also kept his trench coat over like the month that Cass was supposedly dead. And he kept the trench coat that he found in the murky waters. He didn't wash them. There's still blood on from like half a year ago. And then they actually like changed cars frequently in that time. So he actually grabbed the trench coat out of every car they stole, put it back in the trunk, and then kept driving. I'm pretty sure that's not what the writers intended for the scene to be, but it is the text of the scene. I'm sorry. Oh yeah, I also don't have a screenshot for that. I hope I will add this in post. If not, sorry. But there's this one scene where they meet Charlie, and Charlie has to flirt her way into an office to steal some data. And Dean has her like on radio and he teaches her how to flirt with guys, being like, oh, have you worked out? And he's just like saying stuff that she has to repeat and Sam's just like snickering next to him. Like it is a funny scene regardless, but it just adds depth to, okay, so Dean knows how to flirt with guys. This is one of the strongest scenes. Strongest as in strongest evidence why this was upsetting to everyone. In this scene, Cass has healed Sam. He has lost his memory. He fell into a coma and he has his memories back, but he woke up and he's kind of like, not insane, but kind of. Like, he isn't in his right mind. He teleports away, he follows bees around, he has just like a plastic bag full of honey that he collected and he's very proud of it. And he's I don't know how to explain what is exactly not why Cass is not, it's not wrong, because I think if he stayed that way it would have been very funny. Like, I would have loved him anyway. But he has like he doesn't have any walls up anymore, I think. Like, one of the angels shows up and it's like, what was that, Cass? Like, talking about her just, like, coming in there and killing everyone. And he's like, rude for one thing. So, anyway, he's like, oh, I may be cursed. I don't think I can be of much help to you. And Dean says, sorry, but I'd rather have you cursed or not. And then he goes on with, do I seem like good luck to you? And Cass gives him that look. And he knows what. And Cass says, looking at him like that, I don't want to make you uncomfortable. So the clear text of the scene is that obviously Cass cares a lot about Dean, and he doesn't say so because he can kind of like assume that Dean would be uncomfortable by that declaration of adoration at this point. Yeah, after they, like, Cass and he kill the big Leviathan guy, they go to Purgatory, and then Dean just spends a year walking around Purgatory, first alone, to the point that some random vampire guy, we love Benny, shows up and says, hey, I know where your angel is. Like, the implication that Dean went around Purgatory for long enough that people refer to Cass as his angel is funny to me. And then he continued to look for Cass, find him, convince him to at least try to get home, even though Cass stayed behind and stuff. But, like, he was not leaving without Cass. That's, like, dedication that so far he has only showed towards his brother, Sam. And probably, like, no one else was in a situation like this with him. But, like, it was pretty clear that they feel a lot of strong feelings for each other. And with all the other context clues, it seemed to be a safe assumption to say that those were romantic feelings. But at this point, we just know they're very important to each other. I don't know what I'm trying to tell you here. Like, of course it was queer baiting, but, like, yeah. This is just a thing that happened. Oh yeah, that's the context clues that I'm talking about. Because Dean leaves Purgatory without Cass because Cass doesn't want to come with him. He also kind of imagined, I don't know, he has false memories of, like, leaving Cass behind on accident and, like, just to not believe that Cass actually wanted to stay there and, I don't know, stay dead or die or whatever. But Cass shows up again. Of course, this is like angels pulling strings, but Cass doesn't know that. But he, like, shows up, he cleans himself up, and this is Dean's reaction to seeing his friend, in quotation marks, and, like, big ass quotation marks, friend, after a year in Purgatory and then, like, missing him for a few months. I don't know what Jensen was going for with that reaction. Why is he covering his crotch? Why is he so astonished, like, looking... Where is he looking? Why is he looking down? What is he doing? Yeah. And on the other hand, we have the comparison between Dean's reaction to Charlie going in very, like, just, like, downright gorgeous outfits and doing a little sexy walk. That's his reaction to his lesbian friend. And that's his reaction to Cass. And one of them wears more clothes than the other. Just saying. Like, Cass couldn't wear more layers than this, to be honest. Yeah, then we have the whole fanfiction episode. And I'm not here to debate whether or not this episode was making fun of fanfiction. I think back in the day it was pretty rude to do. By now, watching it just a few months ago, I kind of got the feeling that it starts out with Dean being like, what the fuck, those kids are making a theater play about my life, and that's really weird, and they're shipping me with my best friend, and why are those actors kissing? The whole show is just the whole show is just making fun of us. Yeah, actually. No, actually. The whole episode is just making fun of the whole shipping thing, but it actually ends on a consensus of Dean saying, hey, this is not for me, this is for you, and if it makes you happy, keep going with it. And then, like, the author of the books that are, like, in the show, like, the books that, anyway, the author kind of, like, walks down the stairs at the end of the episode and is like, not bad, and smiles at them. So when I watched this episode, I read it as, hey, we're making fun of you, but you can keep going with what you do. Like, compared to that one Sherlock episode, it's very tame. There is, for example, a scene that where Sam is like, shouldn't it be Destiel because your name is Dean? And Dean's just very annoyed at it. And then Sam's like, how about Destiel? Samstiel, which is just, like, making fun of shipping at that point. And I can see why it was... why it hurt people back then, being very, very, like, loving the show and then being made fun of by the show. I can see that. I just wanted to put it in anyway, as like, this is a thing that happened. Oh yeah, the fucking crypt scene that no one has ever moved on from. I thought we all moved on, but like 2,000 people on Tumblr called me wrong on that. They are looking for the angel tablet, which is not just like an iPad with an angel logo on it, which is what I thought when I first saw posts about the scene. I was like, why? Angel tablet? What the fuck? But no, it's a stone tablet that has like inscriptions, and there's like a demon tablet and a angel tablet, and I think there's a Leviathan tablet, which is how they know to get rid of the Leviathans and stuff. But yeah, Kaz is mind controlled, has been since he came back from Purgatory. He is told by Naomi to get the angel tablet and leave, and Dean is like, hey, no, you have to kill me if you want the angel tablet, and Kaz just starts beating him. One of those many scenes where Kaz just beats the shit out of Dean. And he always ends up on his knees in those scenes as well. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. So the scene I wanted to talk about is that Kaz beats Dean into a pulp, he breaks his arm, holds him, clearly is about to stab him here, and all the while he's having like a mental battle with Naomi, and we're cutting back and forth between him beating Dean and him yelling at Naomi, and then like yelling in front of Dean as well. Stuff like, no, I won't hurt Dean. Like, baby girl, you're already hurting him, but that's beside the point. Like, he's having this whole mind control battle, and all the while Dean is just in front of him, begging not for his own life, which Kaz has been trained to ignore by killing thousands and thousands of like Dean clones. He's begging for Kaz to come back. He's like, Kaz, this isn't you. It's like, Kaz, come back to me. And then in the second picture, he actually says, we need you. I need you. Which what I have read is that he was supposed to say, I love you, but people thought it was too gay. And I don't know about you, but I say I love you to my friends like quite often. I have never ever said to any of my friends, I need you, though. Like, I don't know who thought that was less gay than saying I love you, but you go off. Go off, King. It's okay. Dean looks at him like that, says, I need you. And Kaz kind of like snaps out of the mind control, reaches out and heals Dean. Dean in this scene, by the way, doesn't know yet that he is not about to be killed. So he probably thinks that his best friend is about to smite him because he's reaching out to his face. Which Kaz doesn't need to touch people to heal them. We have seen that before. He reaches out to touch Dean anyway. Heals him and then touches the angel tablet. And when Dean is like, hey, what broke the mind control? Kaz is like, probably the angel tablet. And just like, he fucks off with the angel tablet to hide it and be like, I have to protect it from you. My personal headcanon is that he just was scared that he almost killed Dean, which would be fair, and then he ran, which is something that Kaz does quite often. Dean's I need you broke the mind control. Like, this whole scene, I think they kind of wanted it to make platonic, but kind of like screwed that up. I'm not sure if this was supposed to be as Destiel canon as it was perceived to be and as it ended out to be, is what I'm saying. Now we have a few seasons later, Metatron, this whole thing happens. Kaz is in charge of like a battalion of angels, we're like 30, like maybe 40, and Dean is under the mark of Cain, which means he has anger issues, and he kills a prisoner while Kaz is away. And Kaz comes back, and the angels are like, hey, he disregarded our rules, he is clearly dangerous, you have to get rid of him or we will stop following you. And Kaz looks at him and is like, I cannot kill Dean. And then the angels leave. And then we cut to Metatron, who's like, oh, this was all a ruse. And this was all my plan all along. And then, after a big speech, his true weakness is revealed. He's in love with humanity. And he like does a very long pause between it. Like, that was a thing. And the thing is, I think it was also the writers, again, making fun of shipping. But in the scene and in canon, it just reads as Metatron making fun of Castiel for being in love with Dean, but saying he's in love with humanity. Like, if you asked Cass, he would be like, no, I love humanity. And I think it feels like Metatron is making fun of that point. And then later on, this is actually a scene I haven't watched it because we're only at the end of season 11, but I know that a lot of these other scenes happen, where Cass is about to die and he says, I love you. I love all of you. Yeah, this also feels quite queerbaity, but I don't have a gif for Cass watching him sleep, but it's just like a canon thing at several points of the show that they say that Cass watches him sleep, and that Dean doesn't like that. Like in the beginning, he's like, Cass, this is weird. Please don't watch me sleep. Which leads to a lot of like funny moments. But yeah, I don't have a gif for that. It's just like it just adds to that. Then we have just the fact that Dean gets flirted with by girls a lot, but also like there's at least one time of those that actually a guy is flirting with him to distract him. And he actually walks into a table on his way out. And then he called Sam to call it his gay little thing at the bar. And then when they meet the guy later again, and it's actually the guy they're looking for, he's like, oh no, he's my gay little thing at the bar. And it's like, Dean, babe, you have to know how that came out. Yeah, that just like, what I'm saying here is just like it all of these things added together just give a certain vibe. Another thing that was probably also not meant to lead to Destiel shipping is how they set up Claire, who is the daughter of the vessel that Cass is possessing, because this isn't his body, this is the body of Jimmy Novak, who died while Cass possessed him and then Lucifer exploded him. So Cass is the only person inhabiting this body. But before Cass came along, Jimmy Novak actually had a wife and a daughter, and then he died. And his wife and daughter actually got kind of abducted by demons, but that then got forgotten, and then she just shows up again. And Cass, they make sure to set up Cass as a father figure for her. And then a few episodes later, they make sure to also set Dean up as a father figure for her. And that could, like, they could just, like, give her a lot of different father figures. That would be fine. But then they make the choice to set Sam up as, like, the cool uncle who teaches her credit card fraud when her parents are not around. And that's a choice. Then that scene with Amara, which is, I think, coming up soon, like in the next 5 episodes that I'm going to be watching. I'm going to be watching this, and I'm looking forward to it so much. Because Amara is, like, branded to Dean because he let her escape by getting rid of the Mark of Cain, and she's, like, the original Mark of Cain or something like that. And so whenever he's near her, he's very attracted to her. Not like, I don't think it's canonic, like, I think they're trying to tell us that it's love, but I think it's just like a very strong attraction as in obsession. And Cass is not even Cass right now. Cass is being possessed by Lucifer. Like, the body of Jimmy Novak, who died, who Cass inhabits, is possessed by Lucifer at this moment, which Cass did to, I don't know, right his wrongs or something like that. But yeah, Cass isn't Cass at the moment, but Dean still calls out to him when he sees him, even though this isn't even Cass. And yeah, no, I agree, Amara. This is like, she's like, what the fuck? You're supposed to be attracted to me. What is happening? Just one of those other little straws. Then later they meet an angel who was in love with a human once, and then had to kill her because she was his human weakness. And then he meets with Cass, and Sam and Dean just, like, crash the party and just, like, squeeze into the booth next to Cass, which Dean isn't, Sam isn't actually on this screenshot, but I know that he's also there, but very awkwardly just, like, in the seat. Yeah, no, I think the scene itself is very hilarious, but if you add it with everything else, it makes it pretty clear that when later the angel says, like, hey, I'm gonna cure you of your human weakness, and then wants to kill Dean, that he knew that, like, he called his wife his human weakness, and then he called Dean Cass human weakness, and you can't tell me that wasn't... I think they're trying to make it platonic while making fun of shipping, and they're failing at that. Then we have Lucifer posing as your dead love interest for this one guy he possesses first. It's his dead wife. For Sam, it's Jessica, like Jess, who died in the first episode. For this other random guy who I've not met yet because I haven't been in season 12 yet, it's, I think, either his dead girlfriend or his dead wife. And then after Cass dies in season 15, episode 18, he poses as Cass to get Dean to let him in. Like, this is all, I think, some kind of dreamscape. So, but yeah, it's like that wife, that girlfriend, that best friend you have unresolved tension with. Sure. Oh yeah, then just the fact that Dean has, like, several celebrity crushes over the show. Like, he is kind of crushing on Dr. Sexy MD. He is also kind of crushing on that, like, detective dude. And then when they have that like whole boxing episode, Sam gets to meet his childhood crush, who he had like a poster over his bed of, like just a woman, which is just the ongoing list of Sam meeting MILFs. And then you have Dean meeting a guy that he's very excited about and stumbles over his own words over. Yeah. Then just like a compilation of personal space. I think I've read somewhere that in the beginning, like Misha Collins, who plays Destiel, kind of made up the whole concept of Destiel not knowing how personal space works for humans. So he's just like very close to everyone in the beginning. But later on, he isn't. He knows what personal space is, like at least after being a human in like season 8 or so. He knows how personal space works, but he never, like he always is like in Dean's personal space constantly. And he isn't that with others. And he's just like a cute little compilation. And also that moment from like season 4 where Dean's like, why has it always to be me that makes the call? It's not like Cass lives in my ass, that dude's busy. And like the moment he says Cass just like teleports to him. And then he turns around and it's like, Cass, get out of my ass. And then Cass goes, I was never in your... and just trails off. And then Dean looks at him like that. I think that was also just like making fun and queerbaiting. But it's just, looking back, it's like a very, that's a choice. And that other thing, I think the gif at the bottom is from season 10, because that was quite recently. And the whole thing is just like, I'm pretty sure it's just like the actors being that close together because there was not that much space at set. But like in the show, it just looks like, Dean, why is your hand on his shoulder? Why is Cass grabbing the doorknob and trying to attempt to close the door? Why are they just like confused to meet Sam there and being like, oh no, there's Sam, we have to not touch each other? I don't know. It's just, yeah, personal space doesn't exist between the two of them. It's just a compilation of them having no personal space boundaries, which I think also started out as queerbaiting, but just like in the show canonically made it so they are constantly in each other's space. Just a compilation of hard eyes looking at each other with like just adoration. And then it's like, it's as early as this is season 6, the thing. I think the other is season 11 probably, or 14, I'm not sure. And there's one from season 15, and then like there's just several. It's just all through the seasons, hard eyes. There you go. Oh yeah, true, I don't have a picture for this. It's just like in the early episodes, once they go like time traveling to a western town, I think in season 6, before they know that Cass is backstabbing them. And Dean just like loves cowboy movies, and he has a whole cowboy outfit and he dresses up for the occasion. And Sam calls it his cowboy kink. And then there's also the fact that Dr. Sexy MD, which is just like a parody of McSexy from Grey's Anatomy. By the way, the whole episode is amazing. Like, I've watched that episode and it's so accurate with so much eye to detail on copying Grey's Anatomy down to having like the camera angles the same. But I'm anyway, Dr. Sexy MD wears cowboy boots, which is actually the continuity error that Dean catches Gabriel on, being this whole thing being a ruse. And then later on, he puts Cass in the cowboy hat, and they have like this whole I'm your Huckleberry scene. It's just a choice, and I think it's either they completely forgot that Sam calls it a cowboy kink in season 6, or they tried to make fun of shipping again. Then there's the whole angels and demons constantly calling them in love as mockery, which back in the day was probably like homophobic to do. But like Supernatural as a show is pretty like internalized homophobia coded. So it's like we have Meg being like Cass teleported her there and then teleported himself there, and he's like, why are you here? And she's like, go ask him, talking about Cass, he was your boyfriend first. Seeing as they kind of like became kind of close after she took care of Cass while he was in the mental hospital. And then we have Balthazar, who is my favorite angel next to Cass, to be honest. Like, he's just the funniest guy. And Balthazar goes after they're like, hey, you have to help us. Sorry, you have me confused with the other angel. You know, the one in the dirty trench coat who's in love with you. And then we have later in season 11, I want to say, where Lucifer possesses Cass And he is like explaining how he will fake being Cass around Dean, being like, oh, they won't suspect a thing. I'll just be like, Dean. Just seeing the switch from Lucifer to him pretending to be Cass is like, yeah, no, he definitely thinks they're in love. And again, I think this was just the writers of the show trying to be homophobic, but it just reads as everyone thinking they are in love. And we have a compilation of just like lingering touches, and it is not about the touches, it is about how each of them is kind of like lingering in a way that they don't want to let go, and in a way that Dean never touches anyone else. As soon as I've seen, maybe he's starting to touch other guys like this in like season 13 or something, I don't know. As far as I've seen, there is like no one else Dean is as comfortable with touching as Cass is in all those moments, especially when Cass is hurt. He's like, in the later seasons, like after Cass comes back from being human, like basically I think the first time is when Cass almost dies, which is like at the right here. There's like Cass gets stabbed while being a human, and he is dead when like Dean gets to him. And then he makes the angel possessing Sam at the moment bring him back. But that's like the first time that he has like touches Cass' face like that. And then it just happens a lot more often after that. Whenever Cass is either like very hurt or almost unconscious, Dean's like cradling his head. And also a lot of this is just either them reuniting, or that one with the tie is where Dean, under the influence of the Mark of Cain, almost kills Cass, and Cass just like not even stops his hand with the blade, just puts one hand very like tenderly on the fist bunching his like tie, and then Dean stops killing him. And the one at the bottom is just like a very early, I think it was season 4. That was when Cass was not really aware of how to take care of a human body. So he was just like flinging Jimmy Novak around the world with a bird's nest as hair and a loose tie. So Dean is just like straightening his tie, straightening his collar, and telling him if humans want something, they lie. And it's just like a very shippy scene. I don't think, maybe it was meant that way, maybe it was meant to make fun of shipping again, but like it's just one of those classical lightening the tie scene. I also think that Gravity Falls has one of those with Dipper and Pacifica. Tender Face Touches PT2. We have also the compilation of Healing Your Brother-in-Law, Healing Your Son, and Healing Your Husband, which is like, of course it's not canonically that, but Healing Sam, Healing Jack, and Healing Dean is just like he touches Dean while healing him. Then they have I think that is the record being passed between them, when Dean made Cass, I didn't even write that down, Dean made Cass like, oh my god, how's it called? A mixtape. He made him a mixtape with like his favorite Led Zeppelin tracks. The band that his parents fell in love to, by the way. And he just like gives it to Cass as if it's nothing. But he makes a mixtape in the year of the Lord, I don't know, 2018 or so. We had Spotify back then, to be honest. But he's making a mixtape so Cass can listen to it when he's riding around in his car, because he doesn't have wings anymore. Oh yeah, and also this whole, I don't know what that scene in Purgatory was, but like he hasn't seen Cass for a year, and then he shows up and Cass has a beard now, and he just touches the beard. It's like nice peach fuzz or something like that, and it's just like I don't know, it's very gay to do that. I don't know if they were aware or if they just wanted to make fun of it. Yeah, how do we know Dean is in love with Cass? Because Sam isn't. How do we love Cass is in love with Dean? Because he isn't in love with Sam. Which is, at least now it would have been confusing who this Sam guy is if I hadn't explained it in the beginning. Anyway, we constantly see Cass and Dean interacting, but we also see Cass and Sam interacting a bunch. And yeah, I think it's a pretty different look they're giving Cass here. I'm not sure what the scene is. I think it comes up later, or it probably also already has come up. It's either another scene where Cass shows up completely bloody, because he does that occasionally, or it is the scene when like their mother is back from the dead and Cass shows up, and yeah, it's either the same scene on both sides, is what I'm trying to say, or it's like, no, I think it's probably the same scene. I haven't seen that scene yet. Yeah, no. just look at Dean's face, look at Sam's face. Look at the way Dean holds onto his hand even when Cass starts walking. Look at the way that Sam lets go of him. Oh yeah, there's also this one of my favorite screenshots from like season 7, because the Leviathans have like poisoned all the food in America. Then Cass goes out of his way to make his own bread and like harvest vegetables from another country to make them a sandwich, and then he brings the sandwich, and it just looks like he's like telling them that, hey, I made food for you. And Dean's like, oh yeah, thanks. And Sam is about to say that he isn't hungry. And Dean's like, no, you better eat that food. There is a difference between, like, the profound bond is showing is all I'm saying. There's also the parallels with other romantic relationships in the show. For example, on the very left is Bobby's wife that Bobby killed because she was possessed by a ghost, as well as his daughter. And when she comes back from the dead, and she doesn't tell Bobby that she remembers being dead. And he's like, so why don't you just tell him you remember? And she says, I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say you've never been in love. He's my husband. My job is to bring him peace, not pain. And then a few seasons later, Cass doesn't remember that he betrayed them, that he backstabbed them, and that he broke down Sam's mental walls that protected him from his memory of Lucifer. And Dean doesn't tell him all of that. He doesn't tell him they didn't part friends, as Cass puts it in that scene. And you can see that he is already pained enough by that. Yeah, then there's the scene of like first episode. Jess is on the ceiling burning like their mother was. And Dean shows up, grabs Sam, is like, we gotta get out. And Sam just yells her name. And then we have, I think this is end of season, I don't know where it is. I genuinely, I haven't watched that yet. I just know that this is when Jack gets born. And Cass distracts Lucifer so they can leave, I think. It could also be in like the alternate, I think in the alternate universe Gabriel dies. Anyway, Cass is distracting Lucifer to get them away, basically. And then we have like, there's just basically same scene, only that Cass isn't burning on the ceiling. And we even have the we gotta go and Dean just yelling his name. And then we have a scene that is, I think in season 15. I obviously haven't watched that either, but it's just like I have seen this scene many, many times compared with like the whole thing of Eileen, which is Sam's love interest in the end, saying, I don't know what's real anymore, he kissing her and then saying, I know that was real. And then like same episode, Dean being like, nothing about our lives is real. I don't know why, by the way. I don't know why they don't know if anything is real. I just know that they do. And Cass is like, you ask, what about all this is real? We are. And I have seen pointed out many, many times before that one of those scenes had a kiss and the other didn't. But still, it's like, at this point, it's becoming a pattern, and I'm sure there's more parallels with other romantic relationships that I haven't gone over here. Then we have other queer representation in the show, just to show that it was kind of homophobic what they did, but also not completely, because we have Charlie, who is a lesbian. We have God, who had girlfriends and boyfriends in the past. We have the two gay roleplay guys, who are kind of made fun of, but in the end save the day. We have the ghost facers with their gay little intern. And then we have two random gay hunters that I've seen referenced over and over again, but I don't actually know if they are gay, or I'm pretty sure they are gay, but like I don't know who they are or why they show up, or if these two guys are gay, or if the gay hunters look different. And most of them die. So I don't know what happens to the roleplay guys. I hope they're fine. I don't know what happens to the random gay hunters. I hope they're fine also. But Charlie dies, God dies, and the ghost faces gay intern dies. Like in the episode that he gets introduced in, no less. So now the twist for everyone who didn't know about Supernatural, it's actually canon. It is canon that Cass is romantically in love with Dean and wants to hold his hand and kiss him. And he says so in the last episode he shows up in, which is, I think, 6 episodes before the finale or something. Like in 15, 18, they get trapped. Cass made a deal with the Empty that if he would ever be completely happy, the Empty would take him. And to save Dean, he just like confesses his love, minute-long love confession to Dean that Dean listens to, saying that he is the person that made him understand what love is, that made him love humanity, that he cared because Dean cared. And fellas, is it gay to look at your best friend while he confesses his undying love to you with this face? Like, this is not the face of a man who is like, you gay, or who's like about to reject him, but more like, why are you saying this now? Like, don't do this. Like, he knows that Cass is going somewhere with this, and this is not the face of a man who doesn't love the man in front of him. Maybe it's not romantic or sexual love. I don't know what's going on in Dean's head. I would tell it is at least romantic love, but I don't know. Just the part that Cass loves Dean is canon, and he dies for it. And that is why that sucks so much. They gave us basically 12 seasons of queerbaiting and building up this relationship, and actually starting as queerbaiting and then having it avalanche into actually gayness. And actually just, I mean, Dean is rather bi, and Cass seems pretty gay the way he looks at women. It sucks so much because they confirmed it and then immediately sent Cass to Turbo Hell. Dean doesn't get him back. Dean doesn't even really get to show us if he reciprocates or not. When he's like in heaven, he meets Sam, and Doom is so sure that it is implied that Jack goes to get Cass back from the empty, but I haven't read anything about that, so I'm so sure it's just one of his headcanons and he thinks it's real. But I hope it is real. I hope Cass gets to meet Dean in heaven, but I don't think everyone would be so upset about it if that were the case. If we had get the confirmation that Cass is canonically in Dean's heaven, I don't think everyone would be that upset. As it stands, it's just like 12 seasons of queerbaiting, then confirming it that we were right all along and then killing him, which is probably the worst case of burial gays that I personally have seen in media. And this is basically why it has such an impact, and still, like, it had such an impact and it still has such an impact on people watching the show on the internet, or of people talking about it. This is why we are so angry. And with all that in mind, I want to talk to you about Evan Buckley and Eddie Diaz from the ABC show 911, because Buddie is the shipping name between Buck and Eddie, as you can see here, and they meet in season 2, episode 1. Buck is there from the beginning, but season 2 is the first time we meet Eddie, and they kind of get off on the wrong foot. Eddie actually arrives there and everyone likes him. He is a very likable guy. He's an army veteran. He now joins the firefighter crew that is the 118, and the whole show of 911 focuses on this 118 fire department, and then one emergency caller and one of the police sergeants. And in this first episode, Buck's like, hey, you're not supposed to just arrive here and everyone loves you. That's not how it works. And Eddie's like, hey, sorry, I don't know what to tell you. And then they have a few calls, and one of those is the guy on the left shooting a grenade in his own leg. Not a grenade as the thing that you pull the pin out and then you throw it, but some explosive munition that he has in a collector's gun, and then the gun goes off and goes in his leg. The show is not very accurate. The show is not accurately depicting what a fire department does in LA. The show is pretty much a fever dream, but I don't know. If you just accept that it's unrealistic, you can be here for the ride and you can have fun. So they at some point, Eddie's like, hey, wait, what kind of thing you shot yourself with? And the guy explains, and he's like, oh yeah, wait, no, we have to stop now because he has ammunition in his leg and it's about to blow. So they stop, and then they're like, yeah, we are kind of we can't bring him to a hospital if he just blows up, and we don't have that mumuch time. The thing is very unstable. And then Eddie's like, no, I can probably get it out. I've worked with ammunition and explosives back in the war. And Buck's like, hey, I know, I'm in. And then they do this together, and Buck even goes in there saying to the captain Bobby, you said we should bond. We might being closer than you wanted after this or something like that. So yeah, they get the ammunition out, everything's fine, they get the guy out of the car, they leave the ambulance, and then Bobby like talks to them, and Buck's like, nah, I never was worried. And then the car goes up in the distance, and Buck just like turns to Eddie being like, what the fuck, I didn't know that. Like his look is just saying, what the fuck, I didn't know that the explosion would be that big. And Eddie just smiles at him, and then they have this kind of like awkward cute scene of Eddie saying, hey, you can have my back anytime, and Buck being like, or you could have mine. And then they're canonically besties. So before we start off, I want to point out a few parallels between Buck and Dean, because watching them, it is quite apparent that there are quite a few parallels. Both start out the show as a womanizer with performing heterosexuality so loud it looks fake, which is why I think all the queer people loved Dean, and which also applies to Buck. And they end up being like a baking, cooking bisexual, which is amazing. I love every time. I love that Dean goes on to just like cook for the people in his life and be happy about that and be so proud. And I love Buck's stress baking. They both have a father figure named Bobby that dies, by the way. They both have emotionally unavailable parents. In Dean's case, that is because his mother died and his father is just ghosting him until he dies. In Buck's case, it's because of like complicated family history and his parents just like being emotionally distant to him on purpose, kind of. They kind of have massive trust and abandonment issues, both of them. They both have a sibling with long brown hair that is being sassy. I love both of them. Maddie and Sam are both like so fun to watch. And they both wore a cowboy hat once in the show. So going on about scenes that were kind of queerbaity or kind of like teasing romantic tension between Buck and Eddie, starting with Maddie moving in. Maddie, that's Buck's sister, and Chimney, who's another firefighter, and Eddie help them move in, or help her move in. And when they leave the room, Maddie goes, he is so cute. And Buck goes, yeah, he gets a lot. You should meet his kid, though. And then Maddie goes, wait, Chimney has a kid? And Buck's like, no, I thought you meant... And just like stops talking. And like he meant Eddie, because Eddie is the only person in this conversation having a kid. And then later on in Buck's apartment, that is actually Abby's old apartment. And I just realized something that I haven't... I will just make a note of this, and I will bring this up when the slide comes up. Okay, but yeah, he lives in his ex-girlfriend's apartment, and I think at that point he is still kind of thinking that they're not broken up yet, because she just left the country and then like never came back and kind of ghosts him now. So Maddie goes, so does this boy crush on Eddie mean that you're finally ready to move on from Abby? And Buck doesn't even entertain the whole thing. He just says that's cute, because in his mind, Abby and him are still together. There's a lot of those... Oh yeah, I was about to say, I just skipped a whole page. This is Eddie's son. He has a disability that is shortened with CP. I will probably put on screen what it is, because I don't want to pronounce it, because I don't know how. But there's a lot of scenes that's just like them co-parenting the kid and showing that Buck cares a lot about Eddie and also cares a lot about the kid. And later on, like in season 4 finale, Eddie reveals that he has changed his will to say if he dies, Buck is Chris's legal guardian, which kind of like he has parents and stuff. Like Chris has grandparents, probably like aunts as well, or at least great aunts. So he has family. It's not like he doesn't have anyone if Eddie ever dies, but he decides anyway to make Buck his son's legal guardian. And there's just a lot of moments of them just like doing family things together, which is very cute, but also like kind of draws them in a family sense of like they are two dads and their child, and not a guy and his child and his best friend, which is furthered by scenes like at one of those Meet Santa things where like kids can sit on Santa's lap and tell him what they want for Christmas. And when like Eddie picks up his son and they leave, and Buck wants to go after them, but the woman who like brought him out is like, you two have an adorable son. And Buck looks like he wants to say something to that, but then like decides against it and goes, thank you, and leaves. And then in a later season, Buck and Chris are playing video games, and Eddie is like being a little paranoid about the internet and like digital things. So he unplugs the internet, and Chris goes, Buck, can we go to your place and play video games? And Eddie just looks at him like this, and it's clearly like, it's the whole scene is played for tell our son please that I like you are on my side here, you're not on our son's side. And Buck also says like, I think we have to like play it old school and like play some board games. But like, if that is not you are on my side here husband look, then I don't know. They have several divorce arcs in the show. It is dubbed divorce arc by the fans, but this is like, Buck is having a lawsuit with the fire department for reasons, and the lawsuit means that he can't talk to anyone from the station. So he can't talk to Eddie or any of his other friends or Bobby, and the whole thing is actually like suing Bobby. So Bobby would have a reason to be upset, but he is not really. And then Eddie is just like yelling at him in the Costco or whatever, like it's just some tiny ass supermarket. And he accidentally, in quotation marks, bumped into them. And Eddie's just yelling at him for filing a lawsuit and not being able to talk to him about what he is going through, because he is having some issues with, like, I think seeing a lookalike of his dead wife or something. I'm not sure what at this point was going on with Eddie, but he had issues and he couldn't talk about it to Buck. And he's also like, my son misses you. So I don't know. This is a little more than I would say reasoned by being best friends, and many of the fans say that as well. It's just like one other straw on this camel's back. And we have the whole tsunami arc, which is like Buck and Chris are at the pier, and then a tsunami hits, and the whole 2 episodes is just like Buck trying to keep Chris safe, losing him in the end, then meeting Eddie, having to tell him that he lost his son, and then Chris shows up and everyone's happy. And then the next morning, Eddie brings Chris over again, and Buck is like very confused and very guilt-ridden, and he's like, why do you trust me again with your son? I lost him yesterday. And Eddie is like, yeah, just maybe don't leave the house this time, so you're gonna be fine. And Buck is like, no, what the fuck? And then Eddie goes, I failed that kid more times than I can count, and I'm his father, but I love him enough to never stop trying, and I know you do too. Which is 1 season after they met, and I think canonically 1.5 years after they met. And I don't know how fast you get attached to children of your best friend. They probably like see each other every week, like 4 times a week. Comparing his own love for his son to his best friend's love for his son is a statement, is all I'm saying. Oh yeah, also just one of those context clues. Eddie is unable to commit to a woman. The first woman is not his fault. It's his wife that dies in a car crash after they have like, she kind of runs away after her bone. She kind of runs away after her sword. So, oh my god. She kind of runs away after her son gets born with a disability, and then she's not in the picture for a while. And then she kind of comes back while Eddie is leaving for war, and then he comes back, and then she runs away again, and then he's alone with Chris, I think, or maybe he was with his grandparents at that point. But during the show, she comes back, like in season 3 or so, I think she comes back, or season 2. I'm actually not quite sure on the timeline here. I'm so sorry. She dies anyway, and it's before the tsunami, because like after the tsunami, Chris has nightmares about it where she is dead. But she dies anyway, and then he meets the teacher of Chris, which is the middle woman, and when someone assumes that she's the mother of Chris, he gets a panic attack at the outlet store, and Marisol just doesn't work out for attachment reasons as well. I think he also thinks he has commitment issues, but Bobby says to him, like, you don't seem to have problems committing to your son or your work, like, so maybe there is something else here. Oh yeah, short content note, there's gonna be a lot now. If you don't want to see that, just like close the stream, close the tab, listen to my voice, close your eyes. I'm gonna tell you when the blood is gone. There is a shooting at some point where it's just like at the end of one episode, a guy with a sniper rifle shoots Eddie, and everyone takes cover, and then Eddie's like on the floor reaching out for Buck, who's crawling under a fire truck to, like, in the act of shooting, like people are still shooting, and he's just like crawling there to drag Eddie out of the line of fire, which is I think a feat to grab, I don't know, how much does a man with that many muscles weigh? Probably 80 kilograms, 70 to 80 kilograms, and Buck is gonna drag that across the floor with one arm while lying into a fire truck. Like, everyone else is just taking cover. This is just Buck saving Eddie. All his friends are around, but like, it's not like these are all strangers to him. His friends and colleagues are around, but Buck is the only person actively bringing himself into the line of fire to try and save Eddie. The blood is gone now. You can come look back at this. You can come back. In another episode, Eddie tries to rescue a kid from an underground well, and then the shaft collapses, and it's like Buck kind of loses it here. Like, not to say I would be any different. I'm just saying that he, out of like the 20 firemen around, is the only person that tries to scream and dig at the ground with his bare hands as if he's about to dig 40 feet into the ground with his bare hands reaching Eddie. And then Buck like has to be restrained by Bobby holding him, and he just collapses on like Bobby's lap crying and screaming. And Eddie is no better. Like, there is a scene in one of the later seasons, I want to say 8 or 7. Like, season 9 is produced right now, so later seasons is 7 or 8, where they fight a fire, and then there is a lightning strike, and Buck gets struck by lightning while up on this ladder, and then he just like hangs there and is canonically dead. And Eddie, who is known to keep his cool under pressure, he once had a gun pointed at his head and did not do anything. Like, he kept talking and he was like chill, but he didn't go into panic, even though his life, and at this point like Buck's life as well, were in danger. Not immediate danger, and that Buck wasn't dead yet, but like, he is an army vet. He's supposed to be cool under pressure, but without securing himself on the ladder, without thinking, hey, my friend just got struck by lightning up there, if I go up there I might get struck too, he just runs up the fire ladder and then tries to pull Buck towards him. Like, just, again, 70 to 80 kilogram of dead meat, trying to pull that up instead of lowering him down, which is a thing he could do, because they do that. Like, Eddie is not thinking. Buck survives, obviously. He is dead for 3 minutes and 17 seconds, and then he gets to the hospital. He has his own This Is a Wonderful Life episode, and then he and Eddie go to a poker night with like a lot of other firemen officials. And then Eddie's just bragging about Buck being dead for 3 minutes and 17 seconds because that's so cool. Like, people are like, oh my god, I was sure something. And he's like, yeah, he was dead for 3 minutes and 17 seconds. Am I right? And it's like, did you count the second? He probably counted the seconds. I'm gonna be real, he probably counted the seconds. Everyone was kind of distressed in that scene. Don't get me wrong. Like, we got a lot of soft, like, hey, don't leave us, come back, kid, we need you, we love you, things. Not that we need you, no, I don't think anyone said we need you. no one was Dean Winchester at the crib. But yeah, nothing casual about them. Then, this is where it gets really interesting. Is it gay to be jealous of your best friend's new friend and then make said new friend your boyfriend after breaking your best friend's ankle? This is honestly a scene that I skipped because it was so cringe and like so embarrassing, like third-hand embarrassment of just seeing Buck trying to, like, just being jealous of this new guy. That's Tommy. He's helping them. Like, he used to work with the 118. Now he's flying a helicopter and being cool. He's also being gay. But the helicopter and the being gay has nothing to do with each other. And they meet him, and he and Buck kind of like hit it off, and he like helps Buck, like shows Buck around the station. And then Eddie shows up and they're like, oh no, we're flying to Las Vegas for like this one fight. And Buck's like kind of feeling left out. And it's like very left open by the episode in like until the end if he is jealous of Tommy being friends with Eddie now because he kind of has abandonment issues and like wonders if people are just gonna leave him, and like he is afraid of people just like leaving him by walking away, but also of leaving as in dying, but like mostly walking away, I think, because most people, like so many people have walked away on him. It's actually not even funny. So he is jealous, but the show kind of like, the episode kind of puts it as if he's jealous of Eddie, but you're not quite sure if he's jealous of Tommy. And in the end, Tommy shows up at his place and he's like, hey, and they talk. And then there's like this one line where Buck goes, trying to get your attention is kind of like exhausting. And then they kiss because, yeah, it's actually gay. Like, I'm not making this up. Tommy is actually gay and Buck finds out he's actually bi after they kiss and they go on a date and he's kind of awkward about it. And then they accidentally meet Eddie and his girlfriend and then that's kind of weird. And yeah, but they get together, he comes out to Maddie and then he comes out to Eddie and Eddie's like, hey, this doesn't change a thing between us. And Maddie is like, hey, this doesn't change a thing for me. Still love you, I'm your sister. And it's just a very cute scene and it's just like having two guys who look as masculine as they do kiss on screen is a big thing. I love that. Like the show has several like weird representations, but the one gay character of like early seasons gets kind of like written out of the story. And the other gay character is Hen, who is also part of the fire department, and her wife Kate. And they have a son, and like most of their arcs is kind of like having their family, or Hen going and trying to do her medical exams and stuff like that. Like, it doesn't really focus on them being gay. They're just like there and gay in the background. Like, it's not their whole character to be gay, which is really, really refreshing, and I really like that. But yeah, just having this moment is very, very cool. But it doesn't really resolve the whole Eddie-Buck tension, which, is it gay if your boyfriend breaks up with you because he thinks you are in love with your best friend? Which is the reason that Tommy in the end breaks up with Buck, because he's like, hey, you're clearly in love with Eddie and I'm not doing this. I can't do this, so I'm gonna walk out on you. And then for reasons, Eddie moves away to be with his son. And then for other reasons, Tommy and Buck hook up in Eddie's house, which is where Buck lives, actually. Which is what I wrote down, because after being together with Abby, he lives in Abby's apartment. And after Eddie leaves, he lives in Eddie's house. And that's kind of like also one of those parallels. But like in the morning after, basically, like Tommy is making food. And Buck's like, hey, maybe we could try it again because we still like really got a good dynamic here. And Tommy's like, yeah, we might as well now that the competition is out of the way. And Buck's like, what competition? Like, do you mean Eddie? And then Tommy's like, I mean, you're living in the guy's house. And then Buck goes, okay, this was not his house. He was a renter and he's straight. And then we come to the very famous lines of, I don't have to want to sleep with everyone I have feelings for. And I don't have to have feelings for everyone I sleep with. So after that, Tommy leaves, which fair, because that was kind of rude. But the first half of that is kind of like, it feels like Dean's Bert and Ernie line. Like, what do you mean you don't have to sleep with everyone you have feelings for? So yeah, it's just this guy who has been gay for like 20 years, or like been aware that he's gay for 20 years, thinks you're in love with your best friend, but we're just gonna ignore that. The reason that Eddie moved away is to be with his son, and Buck kind of like helps to try and help him to like find renters for his place so he can leave. He kind of fucks it up. And then he makes a fake account to like be the next renter, and they kind of make up, which is just like the whole arc is just Buck being like, hey, I have a harder time with the thought of you leaving than I like to admit. And then going through with it and being like, hey, your happiness and Chris' happiness is more important than me having you around, and I care a lot about you, so I'm gonna do this for you. And this is just like the summary of the Texas arc. And this is also where this from Maddie comes, like the whole Texas house episodes are very, other people are telling Buck that he's clearly in love with Eddie, because Maddie says this about Buck not wanting Eddie to leave. And she's like, I think maybe you're not sure of your own feelings yet, and if there's something you need to tell Eddie, you will, just in your own time. And Buck's like, yeah, I think I will. And he means that he doesn't want Eddie to leave. But I think Maddie actually means that he is in love, because after the whole like one night stand with Tommy happens, he tells Maddie about it. And Maddie's like, yeah, I mean, fair point. And he's like, I'm living in Eddie's old house, therefore I must be in love with him. And Maddie goes, are you? And this seems like in love with Eddie. And Maddie goes, it wouldn't be so crazy. Like, she's just here being a supportive big sister. And then Buck says, which also could just be a jab at like people shipping them, as much as everyone seems to want me to be hopelessly pining for my straight best friend, it just isn't like that. Which, I don't know if this is just like the show telling us this isn't going to happen, or Buck just kind of like trying to cope. This is also just like only one of those pictures is actually like serious, because the other one is just like, I think, a funny screenshot that looks like the distracted girlfriend meme, which is like Buck and Eddie talking in the background, and then there's like Taylor, like his current girlfriend, in the foreground talking to another woman, like kind of being like, hey, he's my boyfriend. And it's like, yeah, your boyfriend is back there while Eddie is leaning against the wall like that. But sure. But the other one is actually, yeah, it is the Texas arc. And like they fight because Eddie thinks Buck is sabotaging him, like selling the house because Buck doesn't want him to leave. And then Buck kind of adopts a puppy that they saved the day before. And he calls him new best friend. Like, I have a new best friend now. And Eddie is genuinely upset at that. Like, he's genuinely jealous of, I don't know, of the dog being Buck's new best friend. I don't know. They are so insane for each other. This is also during the time that Eddie is in Texas, which, like, apparently Buck just, like, yapped about Eddie for half an hour to Ravi, who was, like, another character. And then Ravi just gets up, finds Buck's ex-boyfriend in the bar, sends him over to Buck, and is like, yeah, no, this guy really needs to get it out of his system, please. And then they, like, have a one-night stand. So I'm just going over the line of, like, what happened here again. Buck misses his best friend, yaps about him to his colleague for an extended amount of time. Said colleague gets up and finds Buck's ex-boyfriend because he thinks Buck needs to get over Eddie with sex. Nothing straight about any of that. There's also, like, a lot of narrative hints pinning them together. I can't find a GIF for the Bible scene, but it's like before his abuela dies, she tells Eddie that he needs to find love, or like finds security, or love, belief in something else than God and the church. I'm not Christian. I don't know what he has going on, but like he's trying to reconnect with Christianity. But my point is that his grandma tells him that he needs to find love in other things, in other ways. And then she dies and leaves him her Bible. And he puts the Bible in like his locker in the fire precinct. And he thinks about what she said, like that she said he has to find love in other ways. He has to find love somewhere else. And while he thinks about that, there's like Buck approaching behind him, and he turns around from the Bible to Buck. And like they talk about something. And it's like, yeah, okay, you need to find love somewhere else. Hey, your best friend that clearly loves you is there. Coincidence? And also during the tsunami arc, it's like when Buck isn't allowed to work because he's on blood thinners, and he's like very upset about this because his only thing in life is work at this moment. And we go from Maddie and Chimney, who are together at that point and later get married, being like, wait, are we the only people we know who don't have children? And then they both go like, oh, Buck. And then we cut to Buck being in bed and Buck getting thrown out of bed by Eddie because Eddie is leaving his child, with Buck being like, yeah, no, he's yours now, bye. And it's just like it's a very funny joke, but it's also like comparing other people with children to Buck and Eddie with Chris. Again, they have just a lot of moments that are deep and heartfelt and actually comfort each other. Like when Buck is upset that his parents show up, and kind of like, I think he says something like, it took them like half a conversation, and then he's like 12 again, feeling shitty about his parents and now having to apologize for being angry at them. And then he's like, I don't think you have to apologize here, like you're not in the wrong, man. We have the whole thing of Eddie feeling bad after like the divorce arc, and Buck is like feeling guilty for not being there for him because Eddie was clearly going through it, and being like, hey, he kind of makes fun of Eddie for going and doing like the whole illegal fighting ring thing. And they have they have a very cute scene that I'm going to go over in a few slides. But he's like, no, hey man, I'm sorry I wasn't there for you. I shouldn't have been there for you. And then they have like, and Eddie's like, hey, no, therapy didn't click with me. And Buck's like, yeah, I don't think you really tried. And then they have like a scene where they both like on the couch and playing Tekken, basically, or like a fighting video game with Chris between them, like cheering them on. And I think the third thing is one of the times Eddie has a breakdown because all the guys he saved back in when he was in, I think, Afghanistan, died. So he feels like nothing he ever did made an impact. And like he punches the wall, and Chris calls Buck because he is afraid for his dad and he doesn't know what to do. And like Buck shows up and comforts him. Like they actually are shown to be very, very close friends at least and care a lot about each other. There's also a Hard Eyes compilation because of course there is. This is also the scene that I just meant, where what Buck says in the gifs at the bottom is like, I could take you any day. And then Eddie's like, you want to go for the title? And I just want to highlight the words that like apparently one of the writers said, which is, I wouldn't talk to my best friend like that. Which, yeah, they were clearly flirting. But yeah, the guy at the top right is just like, that's Chimney, Maddie's husband. He is there for reference because he is looking at Maddie after she kissed him, after they just got together, and then like it pans to the rest of the 118 just cheering behind them, like up on the balustrade. But this is him looking at his future wife. And right next to that, we have Eddie looking at Buck. Yeah. I don't think I need to say more to that, do I? They also don't really have personal space with each other. They are, in many scenes, bumping elbows, bumping shoulders. I think when they're like the only two people in the frame, it could be the same explanation I have for Sam and Dean always having no personal space. Which like in lore, it's like that they basically grew up in a car and they grew up in the space of like one car. So anyway, I think it's just like if you have to be on screen with two actors at the same time, you kind of have to stand very close together. But they also do that when we like see them from further away. Like we see them like in the car garage thingy for the fire trucks, and short Buck is actually like looking over Eddie's shoulder, looking at his phone, but he just stays close. Like he's not backing up after that. We also have when they wait for Chris to come back from the Santa thingy, and there's a lot of space around them. They could sit anywhere, but they decide to sit with their knees and elbows brushing, and you could just back up the frame a little and have them not sit on top of each other. Like this is Dan and Phil level of behavior here. It's just a lot of moments where they stand closer than they have to. And we have the same explanation as with Sam in the Destiel portion. How do we know they are in love with each other? Because others aren't in love with each other. Like Chim and Henrietta with the glasses and Chimney, who we just met, they are canonical besties. Like they have literally a scene of Hen being like, hey, I suspect this, and Chimney being like, yeah, no, I will follow you on the hunch and I will die for that. Like they are canonical ride or die besties, both married to different women. And they don't look at each other like Buck and Eddie look at each other. And they also don't stand so close to each other. Chimney also doesn't stand as close to Buck. Hen doesn't stand as close to Buck. Bobby doesn't. Bobby is in a lot of the background. Like, Bobby is just in the background of a lot of things, just staring at them. Bobby is buddy chipper number one. But yeah, and we also have the nice compilation of Bobby and Athena, who are married. We have Henrietta and Chimney, who are platonic besties. And then we have Buck and Eddie next to them, pretending to be platonic besties, but like standing as close as the married couple. They don't have to. This is just like, I'm just adding more and more straws on the camel. This is just a fun little thing. I don't know if I think it's always the same seasons that they do this. I don't know why they share clothes, or if like the clothing department just like fucked up or something, or if they just decided to swap clothes around because they have the same size. I don't know. But it's a thing. They share clothes sometimes. And I don't know if it's canon or just like continuity error. Then the thing that I'm not sure if Supernatural did this. Online accounts say Supernatural did this. I cannot attest for those, but I do know that 911 is using the whole Eddie and Buck thing for attention and to like have more people watch the show. Because they also do a lot of those, the actors are reading out Twitter things and shipping things. And that feels very queerbaity when you do it like that. And then have like all the other straws that I just like told you about. They also make fun of shipping. It's just like few times not as elaborate as, for example, that one Sherlock scene that I'm still really mad about, and that Supernatural episode that I'm not as mad about. But there's like this one episode with the streamer who like, and they have to rescue her while she's streaming. And then a few of them go like, those boys are fine. They are so cute together. They should totally be a couple. And it's kind of like making fun of that, especially because it comes out of left field. It's like, oh, they look so cute together. Like, no, this is not. I just talked to you for 40 minutes. Okay. I just talked to you for 40 minutes of the reasons why we ship them. And yeah, no, this is just making fun of that. Then, of course, them being paralleled to other relationships. We have this one old guy whose husband dies, and he's like, that was Mitchell always staring the clock, and me always followed along. And like, what he says fits very well on the on the friendship that Eddie and Buck have. And then we have Maddie and Chimney. Like, before they actually get together, they just like meet up a lot. They call every day. They have like Friday buffet nights. And Buck is like counting those things on his fingers. He's like, hey, you constantly call each other. You hang out a lot. You have date nights. And all of those things is like things that Buck and Eddie do as well. When Eddie is in Texas, they basically call for everything. And I mean everything. They have a lot of nights where Buck just like cooks for Eddie and Chris. Yeah, it's just everything he says there is very parallel in the behavior of him and Eddie. And then we have when Maddie is trying to figure out whether or not she is in love with Chimney, and her gay co-worker, who just like, he carries a very gay air. It is confirmed at some point that he's gay because he goes on a date with a man. But like I don't say gay co-worker because that's his only trait, but that's like his most loud trait is this performance gayness, which, as he's not the only gay character in the show, so it doesn't feel bad that he is performing, because some people, yeah, no, if you're part of the queer community, you know what I mean by that, so I don't have to explain that. Anyway, he goes, do you think about him when he's not around? Are his concerns your concerns? Is his happiness at least as important to you as yours? And that fits on Buck's side towards Eddie 100%. A lot of those like comparisons are from Buck's perspective. On Eddie's side, we mainly have the hard eyes in the personal space. On Buck's side, we mainly have all the comparisons to other relationships or other things that are romantic. Because he's constantly thinking about Eddie when he's not around. He talks about Eddie a lot, even when he's not even in the state. And he is always, when Eddie is concerned about something, which is mostly his son, Buck is always there being concerned with him, trying to figure this out, trying to make this work. And is his happiness at least as important to you as yours? Buck actually lets him go. He lets him go to be with his son, even though he knows he will be unhappy to not see Eddie, but it is more important to him that Eddie and Chris are happy than his own happiness. Okay, to finish this off, we have parallels of Buddie and Destiel. We have Cass and Dean being Claire's father figures, and Buck and Eddie being parents to Chris. We have losing it over losing the other, which is mainly a thing of like Dean giving up whenever Cass dies, and then like them being completely not rational, even though being trained to be cool under pressure when the other dies or supposedly dies. We have a lot of hard eyes. We have other characters calling them in love. We have the narrative giving hints towards romantic love, which is Castiel's human weakness versus Eddie looking for love in other places. We have the show having other queer representation, which is canonical by Buck, Michael, which is Athena's gay husband, and they divorced in the first season. And it's actually like, I like the storyline quite a lot. I was worried how they would present it, but I think it works. We have Hen and Kate. We have Maddie's gay bestie. And then in Supernatural, we have Charlie, the gay hunters, Claire, God being bi, etc. So the shows themselves are not above having queer representation. They're not outwardly hate criming queer people, all that it kind of are, but like not actively and not visibly, because like they have other gay representation, so it doesn't really make sense to not give us that bit of queer representation, because you already upset people. Like, you already upset the homophobes. Why not keep going? Then we have Eddie's panic of committing to a woman versus Cass being not interested in women at all, which is one of the angels possessing a female body once like strips down in front of him and he just like looks very disinterested. Like he's not even uncomfortable, he's just like, what the fuck are you doing? And both shows make fun of shipping inside the canon. So what I'm actually afraid of. I can hear some people say, why does everything have to be gay? Why can't they be friends? And it's not really about that. I would be perfectly happy with Cass and Dean just sharing a deep platonic bond, because I really enjoy platonic relationships as well, even like especially if they go to, hey, I would die for you, I would kill for you, but you're my platonic bestie. Chimney and Hannah are actually a great example of that. But if it was meant to be platonic, why do the whole queer baiting? Why do the hints towards a romantic tension or sexual tension at some point when you don't want to deliver on it? Why have all the tension and the hints towards it if you just want them to be platonic? So what I'm meaning is either commit to it or stop teasing. And yeah, I mean, you have queer representation in the show. You keep teasing other queer representation and then not follow through on it. And I'm not sure why. You already upset all the homophobic viewers. Why stop now when you're on a run? So yeah, this is basically what I mean when I say that I'm afraid that Buddie will be the new Destiel. Because I can kind of see either them kind of burying it for the next few years and pretending the whole thing didn't happen because Eddie is now back in Texas and he is like, Jim is the new fire captain. So Han and Eddie are partners now. And I can kind of see them just like going back on the whole Eddie and Buck relationship and just having them be platonic friends. But they have like 8 seasons of romantic teasers already. So I'm kind of afraid that they do that and then just like kill one of them off to just like resolve the whole thing without having to commit to something gay. Which I don't understand because, as I said, we have the whole Tommy and Buck thing already. And we have several other queer characters on the show. I started watching 911 with the thought, hey, this whole Buck and Eddie thing feels like the new Destiel. I hope it isn't. And so far, I haven't been proven wrong, but I hope that I will. I'm recording this as of 3rd of January 2026. And the new episodes are set to come out in like 5 days. And I hope I can put this up beforehand. But I don't know, because I think I've talked over... I've probably talked over 2 hours now. And yeah. But that's it from me. If you want to share your thoughts on what I said, please leave a comment. Remember to stay polite. Again, I'm not trying to step on anyone's toes, and I wasn't there for the whole Destiel thing at the time. I can only look at it back now. Like, I went into Supernatural knowing how the whole thing would end, so the whole thing isn't upsetting me as much. It's still upsetting me very much, like I'm still angry about it, but probably not as much as the people back in the day. I'm kind of looking from an outsider's perspective on Destiel, and kind of with the knowledge of Destiel having happened, I don't think Buddie could shock me that much anymore. Like, things in media that came out recently, if you know what I mean, haven't shocked me either that much, because I've seen the impact Destiel had, and nothing will probably ever compare to that ever again, because now we are aware and now we know, and not that is a good thing, but like, I don't think I could be as shocked about one of either Buck or Eddie dying than anyone was shocked about the whole making Destiel canon and then killing Cass. So yeah, this is just me, a very, very long way of me saying this was the video. Consider liking, consider leaving a comment. If you just don't agree with anything I said, consider disliking, I guess. And at some point I will make another video. Alright, stay safe everyone. Goodbye.